Hi, we're Quainton Cures Lyons. My name is James. Today's Friday, so I'm going to do a Friday Reads video. I haven't done one for a while. There's been plenty of Fridays, but I don't know. I've got other things going on. How about you? How are you doing? So this week, I finished reading Henry David Thoreau's Walden and Civil Disobedience for the first time. Impressions of it. I mean, this is a famous book, of course. I think I started reading it maybe half a dozen times in my life. He always seemed like the kind of writer that I would read, but it never quite clicked with me. And I was sort of in this in between, one of these in between big reading things. I'm like, let me just pick this up and see how it goes. And I don't know, I enjoyed it a lot. He is what these days several of my commenters would probably call a crank. A lot of the book is like, everyone you meet is always concerned about this, but what they should really be concerned about is the depth of the pond. Why is everyone rushing about trying to build a railroad when they don't even know how deep this pond is? Clearly their lives are out of balance. But he's got some amazing descriptions of the natural life around his little cabin. He's got some wonderful descriptions of just encounters with people and with animals and with birds and beans. A lot of bean talk, and I love beans, so that was fun. How much money you can make growing beans, how cheaply you can live if you don't need to eat beef or drink coffee. Right, so you don't have to work so hard because you don't have to. Anyway, a pretty good book. Walden, pretty good book, says me. And after I finished that, I bought this book for Randy Ray, the Literate Texans Lone Star Book Club, which is it's the selection for next month, for May. It's called Clete by James Lee Burke, and it's the latest novel in a series centered on a police detective named Dave Robichaux. And this is kind of a departure because all the Dave Robichaux novels are narrated from the standpoint of Dave Robichaux, so I'm led to believe. But this one is narrated from the perspective of Dave Robichaux's best friend, sidekick, a guy named Clete Purcell. So it's... A lot of people have said, this is not the place to start with this series. I never read anything else in this series, but I trusted Randy Ray, so I said, well, let's give it a try. A couple of weeks ago, there was a little live stream with Randy Ray and Steve Donahue, and Steve Donahue was getting into it with Randy Ray about this choice. He's like, I'll bet you a Boston cream pie that... I'll bet you a Boston cream pie that people are going to drop out of your book club like flies because they will not find this a very easy jumping off point in the Dave Robichaux series. And Randy Ray's all, by God, you don't need to come down here and tell us how to do things, Donahue. I don't tell you how to run your book club. Such as it is, it got ugly. I may be dramatizing it a little bit, but anyway, I found that maybe it makes more sense if you've read at least one Dave Robichaux book, but I kind of dug it. It was it really kind of drew me in very quickly. It's set in New Orleans and. I guess New Iberia is the kind of suburban town. It's a small town outside of Lafayette so it's kind of in between these two locations where most of the action happens. And I love New Orleans. I've been there several times. I had my honeymoon there. But anyway, so it's a mystery story, a police procedural, I suppose, though Clete is not a police officer. But so much of it kind of depends on your experience will depend on how much you you can gel with this very strange narrator. He's the kind of narrator that I guess is kind of standard for these kinds of books, for crime books. He's a former cop who's now a PI and also a bail bondsman. I don't know if people do both of those jobs at the same time. Maybe they do. He's also a Vietnam vet. This takes place in the 90s, and he's got a violent streak and a very vivid imagination, and you can't really tell if it's imagination or not. But I don't want to give too much away. But he sees things that no one else sees, and I'm not saying it's not like he sees clues and things. He sees people from the 15th century, noted historical figures from the 15th century who will, at certain key points, guide him. Even by the end of the book, it wasn't really explained or clear, to me anyway, if we're to understand that these things actually happen, if these things are real, and if particularly there's a central, something that happens about midway in the book that seems to be attributable only to this supernatural force, so it could be a non-supernatural event that did this. Boy, this is really vague. I'm trying not to spoil anything, but we still don't know if this historical figure did this thing that was definitely done or not. Anyway, it does kind of meander. The ending doesn't. I didn't find it all that satisfying. It just sort of ended kind of the way you figured it would end. And there's fentanyl, which I don't think was really a big street drug in the 90s. Fentanyl is a big deal, and there's a bioweapon that the two dicks are on the trail of this bioweapon. Anyway, it's a pretty convoluted plot, but really the fun of it is this character and his just wandering around trying to figure anything out. At a certain point, he's like, I think he's getting out of the hospital for something, and Dave Robichaux asks him what he's going to do, and he says, I got to do these things, and he lists 5 things that he's been trying to do since the first 50 pages of the book, and they're all giant. It's like, but there's so much of it, nothing really happens. There are so many days that this guy goes through where he's like, I woke up and I chased this perp and I beat him and he ran away, and then Dave showed up and he's like, let's go get a sandwich, and we did, and then he'd tell and he'd say, there used to be a song on the radio called Ragged But Right. Remember that? And that's the end of the chapter. It's fun, but I don't know. I don't know how it fits in with the rest of the Robichaux books, but I'll just say between Randy and Steve, yeah, it was a pretty good it was a good read. How much does it tell me about the rest of these Robichaux novels? Does Dave Robichaux also see things? I think he does say that Dave Robichaux sees historical figures from a different era also, so maybe that's a theme for this series. I don't know. Have you read it? Okay. I'm also continuing to read the Arabian Nights, Tales of 1,000 Nights and a Night, in the Lyons translation. We did a live stream, me and Sean D. Standfast and Gavin from Genre Books, a couple of weeks back, talking about our second month of reading this. We're reading this over 18 months. We're 2 months in, and this is it's a lot of fun. To be honest, the readings we've been doing this month, it does take a noticeable turn. So the last month's reading was dominated by these tales that had to do with a hunchback who chokes to death on a piece of fish, and then that sets off all these different people trying to hide his body and and then they have a bunch of stories about their own situations. And there's a barber who has like 6 brothers, and he has to tell a story of each of his. It's really, and they're all short stories basically that are unconnected and madcap and just weird. But now we're into a section which is kind of like a little mini epic of a war between the Byzantine Empire and the Caliph of the Muslims, well, it's not the Caliph. It's one of the Arabian kings is at war with the Byzantine Empire, and a prince from the the Arab noble family or the Arab royal family falls in love with a princess from the Kingdom of Rum, which is I guess a tributary state to the Byzantines. They fall in love. There's a lot of kind of strange questing incidents and fights between knights and so anyway, I've got we're reading about 150 pages of this a month. I'm about halfway through my reading for the month, so I'm going to read more of that this weekend, I suppose. I'm also I've started reading Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, and I'm finding it a lot of fun. That's another first-time read for me. I think the Spring Into Adventure gang were reading that as their group read. I'm not sure, but it's like Walden. It's famous and it's really good. I say I've just started, but it really draws you in with its piratical yar mateys and all that. So hopefully I'll get to read some of that this weekend. So tell me, what are you reading these days? What are you planning to read this weekend? Have you read any of the Robichaux novels? Do you think jumping in at the last book of a series is a good way to do it? I mean, what if Randy Ray says you should try it? In this case, that was good enough for me. All right. You haven't seen my dog for a little while. Louise, do you want to say hi? You don't want to say hi. You don't care. But people want to see you. People want to see you. They want to see what you're up to. Oh, that's too much. Yeah, Louise is doing all right. Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.